habits, hobbies, job roles, sense of self, mental strength, overcoming trauma. These are all things that take time to develop and feel comfortable with. But sometimes we feel in such a rush to achieve and get over all these things that we get frustrated when we're not where we want to be. Hi, I'm Tash from The Loving Lifestyle, a channel dedicated to helping you live your best life. Today we're going to talk about how to be patient with yourself. But before we start, don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell below so you never miss my content. We need to learn to be patient with ourselves in order to cultivate our self-worth and to feel fulfilled in life. But how can we learn to be patient with ourselves when we've always been driven to succeed? Self-compassion. Silence your inner critic. Self-compassion is something I've spoken a little bit about before. It is hard to develop, but it is so necessary in order to live a fulfilled life. We are the first to beat ourselves up when something doesn't go perfect. We hold ourselves to incredibly high standards. I feel like perfectionism has robbed so many people of the opportunities to find what we really enjoy. Because as soon as we try, and if it doesn't go perfect, we write it off as being not for us. So we give up before really ever giving it a good shot. And by a good shot, I don't just mean a month of solidly doing this thing, or even a year of doing it intermittently. I'm talking years of consistent work. I've been guilty of calling myself a perfectionist before in order to let myself off from not pursuing my goals or plans. But honestly, it just became an excuse. It was selective perfectionism. I would happily half-ass an assignment that I didn't care about, but I couldn't possibly learn what all the settings on my camera did, because I'll never be able to remember it all. It's an all or nothing approach. I either do it perfectly or I just don't bother. This perfectionism comes from a culture of competition and status, as well as rules that are drilled into us from a very young age. Did your school also only allow you to wear ankle-high socks with the frilly trim? Did you also get chastised for wearing the wrong colour hairband? We learn to fear imperfection from a very young age, and that belief is instilled in us for life. When we learn to fear failure, we learn to strive for perfection and punish ourselves for anything less than. I have a video coming out next month on how to process failure, so don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell below so you know when that comes out. Now, how to cultivate self-compassion. Here are 2 ways that I find particularly powerful when trying to cultivate self-compassion myself. Shift your mindset. Instead of labeling yourself as someone who is a failure, isn't creative, is depressed, label the behaviour instead. For example, I learned from this event. I pursue alternative creative endeavours. I have depression. When you separate the label or affirmation from yourself and you move it to a certain behaviour, situation or circumstance, you no longer identify it with your sense of self. The narrative that you create around yourself becomes deeply entrenched in who you believe yourself to be. When you shift your mindset to feel positive about your accomplishments and detach your sense of self from those things that you chastise yourself for, you will start to love those things that you do identify with and accept those things that perhaps you're still working on. The second thing that I've been doing is to accept and forgive myself. Think about why you feel this way and forgive yourself for it. Maybe it's a particular event or something that you did or didn't do, but it's in the past. So accept that it happened, forgive yourself, let go of the shame and move on. Remember, your journey is unique and not comparable to anyone else's. The second thing I want to talk about is being present and the impact of hustle culture on chronic impatience. We are constantly trying to skip to the next thing, the next task, the next meal, the next meeting. Hustle culture has led us to believe that we're not doing enough, that we need to do more and more and more. Everywhere people are rushing around, complaining there isn't enough time, describing all the things they have to do, impatiently tapping their foot in the queue, and squeezing themselves onto packed tubes because they can't wait 2 minutes for the next one. And for some reason we think we should be doing that too. Am I doing enough? Am I being lazy? If I want to be successful, maybe I should be working a 60-hour week. If I want to get top grades, maybe I should be in the library till 3 a.m. Maybe that does work for some people, but it's really likely that they do not feel fulfilled in their life. Learning to be present is key in leading an enjoyable life, and also key in learning to be patient with ourselves. 2 things that I've been doing to be more present. Firstly, give up multitasking. I definitely struggle with just doing one thing at a time. In fact, I have been known to have the TV on whilst on YouTube, whilst playing Sudoku on my phone. Now, clearly this is a behaviour that I developed designed to block out my thoughts, waste time, and distract myself from whatever stressor I was suffering from at the time. But not only is it not productive, it's also incredibly stressful in its own right. Having all these stimuli at the same time is incredibly stressful for your brain. I've started to overcome this by leaving my phone in a separate room when I'm trying to relax and watch TV, and also by leaving a 10-minute gap between all my to-dos. Just like how you have a 10-minute gap between classes at school or uni. Now, I use that 10 minutes to turn off whatever I was working on previously, tidy the area, make a cup of tea, wash my face, or even just sit and think for a little while. Whatever it is that I need to do in order to feel refreshed and ready for the next thing so that I can be present in everything that I do. I've also tried eating breakfast at the table rather than in front of the TV or with my phone. When you've just woken up, you need to give your mind and senses a little bit of time to warm up before you blast them with the news or Instagram. The second thing that I've been doing to be more present in my daily life is meditation and mindfulness. Now, any kind of mindfulness is extremely beneficial to living a more fulfilled life and also to being more patient with yourself. There are endless studies and so many successful people incorporate some kind of meditation or mindfulness into their daily life. So I personally have been doing a guided meditation every evening using the Calm app on my phone. It's super simple, and they also already have a daily calm, which is about 10 minutes long, already there waiting for you on your home screen. So it really requires zero effort from me. I just press play once I'm in bed, and I spend 10 minutes just full on relaxing and breathing, and it has definitely helped me calm down my hyperactive mind and be more present during the day. Have you tried mindfulness or meditation? I highly recommend you do. Even if you've tried it before and decided it wasn't for you, try it again. You can't expect to be an expert at something immediately. I know that a lot of people jump straight into the I could never turn my mind off for that long, or I could never sit still for that long excuse. Meditation isn't about turning off your brain. It's about finding a place of calm inside our hectic minds and paying attention to our breath, our bodies, and where our thoughts go. You can practice meditation for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or even just a 3-minute one to calm a spike in anxiety or to wind down before bed. It's just like picking up a new sport or a new skill. Mindfulness does take time to settle into. I'm not there yet, but I'm learning and I'm persevering because I can already feel the positive impact it's having. And I know that this will become something that does change my life. And if all those successful people are doing it, then there has to be something about it that's worth doing. Now, this actually leads me beautifully on to my next point, which is give it time. We are creating behaviors rather than goals. The best way to be patient with yourself when trying to create a behavior is to not count how long it's been since you've started. It's not an I'll start Monday mindset because you won't be ending on a Sunday. It's ongoing. Incorporate this behavior or habit or hobby into your routine. If you want to start journaling, sit down to write for 10 minutes in the evening after you brush your teeth. If you want to learn piano, schedule in some time to practice after you drop the kids off at school or in the gap between you and your partner getting home from work. Practice a positive mindset every time you're at the supermarket. For example, take 3 deep breaths before you enter each aisle. Or observe the people around you and pick one positive trait that you see in each of them. When you're in the queue at Starbucks and feeling frustrated, use that time to practice empathy and put yourself in the barista's shoes. How would you feel right now if you were serving a line of grumpy suits? These small changes will soon become habits when your brain associates them with the habit trigger. Going to Starbucks, dropping your kids at school, brushing your teeth, these are all the triggers that lead you to that habit. The worst thing you can do is give yourself a time limit. It's a start today, continue forever mindset that you need. Not a I'll know 3 new songs by next week, or I'll be a more compassionate person by the end of the year. Big goals like that don't get you anywhere. It's the little changes and the mindset shift that you do every day that helps you reach these incredible places. Try to enjoy every moment of learning and developing, and treat the journey as the goal, not the destination. Here's a couple more actionable tasks that you could try to do to help you develop patience with yourself. So firstly, instead of writing a to-do list, write your achievement list. This was actually something that my boyfriend suggested to me when I was falling down that hustle culture trap of not thinking like I was ever doing enough with my time. And it has been a real game changer for my self-compassion. You only realize how much you've actually done when you write it down and recognize it. As part of my morning routine, I practice gratitude every single day now, and it really has changed my outlook every day. So I personally write it in a little book, but you could also try reciting it in the shower, or every time you take a spoonful of your cereal, just say one thing in your mind that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be huge things, it can be, but it doesn't have to be huge things. Things like, I'm grateful for puppy cuddles, I am grateful for good coffee. Practicing gratitude really does shift your outlook for the whole day ahead. So I really recommend that you try to incorporate that into your life. Thirdly, celebrate your achievements. Reward yourself when things go well. Don't just brush it aside and head for the next thing. I think it's so easy to dwell on our failures, but to never really praise ourselves for those things that we've accomplished. You're an absolute boss who has achieved so many amazing things already. Acknowledge that and give yourself the pat on the back that you deserve. And finally, I would recommend working on correcting your negative self-talk using this video up here. Your self-talk is that inner voice that runs through your head all the time. And when it's saying negative and unhealthy things, it becomes easy to believe that those things are true and to hate on yourself because of it. Correcting your unhealthy self-talk is a fantastic way to develop your self-worth and to learn to be more patient with yourself. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also hit subscribe. Let me know down in the comments if you're going to try actioning anything that I outlined in this video. Or you can connect with me over on my Instagram @TheLovingLifestyleBlog. I'll see you next week.